Southeast Asia, within which, of course, we can include the northeast of India as a kind of extension. So we feel particularly privileged to have Alison Frank and Mr. Tuan here with us to tell us a little bit about the experience of Southeast Asia. So let me first call upon Alison Frank to speak about the future of bamboo based on her experience in Thailand.
A city of 8 million people and 9 million cars. Ironically, the project I'm about to tell you about was temporarily shut down last week, along with every school in the city. Why? Because our air was too polluted to breathe. Too polluted solely by human activity that it was no longer safe to go outside. When children are no longer able to be educated because the air is too polluted to breathe, I think we can take that as a sign that environmental education should become somewhat a top priority, so that we don't end up living in a world where there's no choice but to stay inside. Air pollution being an issue, most definitely not unique just to Bangkok. It's a good start. My bamboo story starts back in 2015 when I was working as a grade 1 teacher in a small family-run international school on the outskirts of Bangkok. More specifically, with a group of energetic 6-year-olds who had requested to learn the skills they would need to survive in the jungle. It being Bangkok, it was more of a concrete jungle, and there weren't too many green spaces. So we settled for an abandoned football field in the centre of a car park. As the students began to learn to tie knots, build simple shelters and ignite fires, the irony wasn't lost on them. The juxtaposition of learning wilderness skills without a tree in sight got them thinking. The children suggested if there wasn't a jungle to play in, then maybe it was their job to plant one. And there began their love affair with bamboo. Little did we know then what a huge impact this little group of nature enthusiasts would make. With an enthusiastic nod of approval from our school principal, this abandoned patch of grass became ours to work with. So let's see what happens next, when the next generation, a group of city children with little or no experience with mud, are given a bunch of bamboo to plant and the opportunity to get Okay, dramatic ending. So, as you can see from the video, the patch of grass I spoke about quickly evolved. In fact, it is now known as the Teepee Farm, a hub for children to learn hands-on about sustainability. A farm built and designed entirely by children. So, how did it evolve? One afternoon, the original bamboo planting after-school club of 6-year-olds emerged from a fire-building session. Children's faces smothered in soot, reeking of campfire smoke, and the cheekiest smiles across their face. The school principal stopped them in their tracks and exclaimed, "Every child, everywhere, where are we? Every child everywhere needs these experiences," and the whole school became involved. We devised a curriculum entitled Environmental Mindfulness, and our secret weapon? Bamboo. When the next academic year began, science lessons from kindergarten to grade 2 were taught entirely through hands-on experience on our little patch of grass in the middle of the car park. The grade 1 students had played and planted on this land for a year already, and it was this cohort who suggested introducing our feathered friends, ducklings. They said that they would dig the pond themselves, and having gained a wealth of experience digging already, we knew this wouldn't be a problem. They campaigned that duck poop would inevitably help the bamboo to grow, and they weren't wrong. In little time, the next project was underway. The students spent weeks hammering in bamboo fences and digging out ducklings, a luxury lagoon. Every day in this space, you see that children truly are natural-born scientists. They are curious beings, eager to discover about the world. Give them unstructured time in nature, even a tiny space in the middle of a car park, and their innovation will astound you. But deprive them of building a relationship with the natural world, and they won't even have seen all the beauty to know what there is to protect. I only realised how serious our bamboo journey had become the day that I received a very urgent email from the school council. The subject read, "School council, top priority, have you got a tree suitable for a tree house?" Word of this exciting project spread, and the trees were studied like never before. Which trees were the oldest and sturdiest? Which had enough branches that could support a house? Where do we want our dream treehouse to be positioned? The children were making all the decisions. We found a sturdy-looking mango tree, and the children began designing their dream house. They tested all of the different materials. This was still science class after all. Metals, hardwoods, plastics, testing which would be strong enough to endure the weather, flexible enough to move in the wind with the trees, sturdy enough to hold children safely, a material that would ultimately decompose once redundant. And it will come as no surprise to you that it didn't take very long for children to choose bamboo as the material of their choice. The 7-year-olds recognised bamboo as being stronger than steel, only takes 7 years to mature, very sustainable, would turn back, ultimately biodegrade back into mud after use. These young minds, mostly aged 5 to 8, were motivated, keen to plan, learn and design, make mindful choices, always with their environmental footprint in mind. They began to understand just how much work goes into making things. A great lesson for young members of today's throwaway and fast fashion society. Here we have a whole school motivated and determined to build a structure with sustainability at the forefront of their minds. What would our world look like if future politicians, city planners, mainstream architects had at 7 worked with bamboo and had naturally begun to factor sustainability into their choices? So, with bamboo at the centre of our design, yet again we set to work. So, how do a bunch of 5 to 8-year-olds build a treehouse? First, we did what we know best, and we dug. We got muddy again. We dug holes for some additional foundations, a simple task for the little ones. They were clear experts by now. Next, we soared. With clear boundaries, teamwork and motivation, everybody soared. Teamwork and resilience were the only gateway to success. The students needed their friends to clamp down the wood and apply pressure, usually 2 students to a saw, and it being tough wood, you rotated often. Once the wood was cut to size, we sliced the bamboo to create flat panels using machetes, a favourite skill amongst the younger students. It was a truly beautiful sight to see students feeling heroic, admiring their pieces of flat bamboo poles that they'd produced. The child holding the machete is always the one in control. The one holding the hitter, the bamboo piece, asks 3 simple questions before anything happens. How many hits? How hard? Are you ready? The week after, children gained more confidence with bushcraft knives, taking the flat bamboo that they'd made, making them safe, carving the edges until they were smooth, an activity that children could do for hours, calmly and focused. That was a time lapse, but I don't think we're going to do that. Now, don't worry about it. Now, before I get accused of engaging in child labour, every child worked on the treehouse in an opt-in, opt-out basis. The students were taught the technical skills at the start of the session and had clear boundaries to ensure safety first. The students then had a choice whether to chip in and build, to work on our community project, the treehouse, or to purposefully use their time elsewhere in nature. This can involve anything from rescuing freshly laid frog spawn from our pond, stopping our very hungry ducks from eating it all up, or reaching down to the rock layer of the mud pit and eagerly trying to identify which rock was which. Back to the treehouse. So, the construction. The students began putting their materials in place, and first came the floorboards. Using mostly hand drills and hammers, the students worked in pairs, placing floorboards in place that they'd previously cut, hand drilling holes and hammering the nail through. The students knew their boundaries with tools. The learning was purposeful and meaningful, constantly provoking questions surrounding sustainability and how long things took to make. Once the floor was in, we began working on the sides. Another time lapse that isn't working. This is a job. A group came, they put them all in, I took them out, the next group came, they put them all in. A very satisfying piece of completing the treehouse. Penultimately, the ladder. Now, this was the big talking point throughout the project. They were obsessed, so we made this part of the build into a competition. Each group made a bamboo ladder. They submitted rope ladders, tree ladders, detachable ladders, secret ladders into trapdoors. Eventually, we settled for a rather elaborate design, which would also work as a climbing frame. Although much of the main construction was complete, students dipped back into their creative stage again and again, designing and attempted to build every treehouse accessory imaginable. First, a slide, a must-have to every treehouse. A pulley system to get things in and out. Telescopes to keep watch. Bamboo binoculars, bambuculars as they're known as, and the prize piece. Oh, where's it gone? Oh, they even went as far as creating their own tools from bamboo because it wasn't the tools they were using were metal, and they'd begun to understand bamboo could do almost anything. But the prize piece, a zip line. As the students spent time working on the farm, their treehouse transformed from a castle to a pirate ship, a family home to a remote island. The students' imaginations were constantly at work, with nature as their only stimuli. So now we had a treehouse, a very proud group of students whom, having now built a treehouse, had a unique set of skills. They had, after all, transformed a patch of grass into a farm. During this time, the older children had campaigned for piglets to eat our food waste. Our ducks had become broody and reproduced new ducklings, and our bamboo had, as promised, shot up at an alarming rate. So what did the farm, built and designed by children, represent? Teamwork and perseverance and innovation, without which there would be no farm. A deep connection to nature, having spent the year planting the material they ultimately built their treehouse from. Safe and technical knowledge of how to use a range of hand tools with bamboo. Self-confidence and belief in themselves and their peers that they could build almost anything they wanted from the sustainable material. Innovation and creativity, knowledge of sustainable materials, a good understanding of the life of bamboo from its cultivation, its use at maturity, and the time it takes to turn back into mud. What would our world look like if all of the next generation gained these experiences and grew up reflecting constantly on their ecological footprint? Of course, the treehouse wasn't the end of the students' sustainable designs. The students continued spending time on the farm and learned through play and discovery, and without a major project in mind, they began to wonder what else they could build with their favourite wild grass. Free to put their ideas and skills into practice, they put bamboo to the test. Bamboo bamboolery, piggy obstacle courses, toy boxes for their creations, and several new houses for their treasured ducks. Bamboo doors, bamboo fences, And then what I think was the ultimate, they started to ponder if there was anything bamboo couldn't do. They'd eaten sticky rice from it, eaten the shoots, they'd even tried to create a friction fire using only bamboo. And you can see our newest duck Pippin watching them there in the clip. This was all the proof they needed that bamboo is so versatile and that with it they could build anything their little hearts desired. Even the parents got involved. A dad of a young boy in kindergarten came in with a model he'd built at home. "Do you think we can build this on the farm?" he asked. And off we went again, the younger students splitting, cleaving and carving, with the older ones lashing the dome together. The bamboo revolution is still in full swing today. Well, apart from the days when we're stuck inside due to high levels of pollution, bamboo is our superhero of the building world. A wonderful wild grass that oxygenates our planet and is helping to build almost anything these little hearts desire. This is the material that the students watch decompose and turn into the mud they need to plant more bamboo. The beautiful cycle is endless. We have a lot to thank bamboo for. This renewable resource has taught our students so much about sustainability. It's provided them with the knowledge of what our plants need to survive and how to manage this. Our students now give more thought to what their belongings are made from and have an appreciation for how long things take to decompose. They want to reduce their consumption, reuse items and recycle goods. Bamboo has inspired these young minds, the next generation, to take action, be more responsible. They are proud to be global citizens and to encourage those around them to do the same, encouraging their families and friends to be more environmentally mindful. A growing generation of environmentally mindful citizens. So, could bamboo be the tool to help the next generation grow up to live in a world where once again our air is finally safe to breathe? Thanks for listening.
Message that we can convey to the state government of Manipur, it could be how to bring bamboo education and nature education and environment education to the earliest classes, to the earliest period in school. Because not only is there a connection with nature, one of the problems with our education today is that we acquire PhDs, but we do not know how to make a table or fix an electrical problem or a plumbing problem. And we are completely divorced from the practical sort of problems of the day. I think another lesson from your talk was that in many ways you become much more hands-on. You learn how to use tools, and tools become a natural part of your growth. So with that, I think, thank you very much once again, Alison. Very interesting and very pedagogic lecture.